Well, what do you think? Does that look like fun? Some say a Jeep can conquer anything. I say just make sure there's another Jeep nearby that can pull you out. Okay, what does that have to do with spiritual maturity? Remember that the entire purpose of the book of Ephesians is wrapped up in chapter 4, verses 12 and 13, to equip God's people for service and to bring them to maturity. Maturity, by the nature of it, is achieved through a process, movement. You go from immaturity to maturity. You keep pressing forward until you get there. You can't be stuck if you're going to move forward into maturity. Now, tonight's reading from Ephesians chapter 2, verse 1 to 2:10 describes how we were stuck in the smelly muck of sin. It says in the New International Version in verse 1, you were dead. And in verse 2, you used to live. In verse 3, all of us also lived among them at one time. And also in verse 3, we were by nature deserving of wrath. It's very clear that Christians can refer to their past life in sin and unbelief. When we were stuck and we weren't going to do a thing about it by ourselves, we were stranded, the wheels were spinning, but we were not moving. But thank God for the truth of chapter 2, verses 4 and 5. But because of his great love for us, God, who's rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ. Even when we were dead in transgressions, it is by grace that you have been saved. We've been saved by the intervention of God. He pulled us out of sin. And now that we're free, we can get somewhere. We can get to our heavenly destination, but we can also move forward to an earthly destination of usefulness to God and spiritual maturity. The steps toward maturity are like the stages of human life. Birth first, childhood next. And then, if your mom doesn't do you in with a wooden spoon, adulthood. Birth first. The same principle applies in our journey to spiritual maturity. You first have to be spiritually reborn. God intervenes in your life in this way. If he doesn't, you're just going to spin your wheels, and you can spin them until they catch fire. You're not going to move until God pulls you out of the old life. That's the topic of our discussion for tonight at Home Fellowship. Have a wonderful time. God bless.
Since then I walk in forgiveness. All of my guilt was erased. The chains of the past are broken at last. I got saved. Oh, I got saved. I'm undone by the mercy of Jesus. I'm undone by the goodness of the Lord.